Joined today by Rose and special guest Veronica Medley, a proud military spouse. This month is National Military Spouse Appreciation Month, so Ryan and Veronica are here to talk about employment challenges and opportunities for military spouses, and of course, how DAV can help. We'll also talk about a special virtual jobs event for military spouses happening this Thursday, May 11th. Thank you both for being here.
Of course.
Thank
Veronica, can you start by introducing yourself and telling us a bit about your spouse and his military service?
Sure. So I'm Veronica Medley, and my spouse and I have been together for 8 or 9 years now. Currently, we are stationed now at Fort Stewart. He is a staff sergeant, and his MOS is a 15 Whiskey, which is a UAV operator.
And can you tell us about some of the places where you and your husband have been stationed and where he's been deployed?
Yeah, so we've been stationed at a couple of different duty stations now. We started off at Fort Bragg. We were there for a couple of years, and while we were at Fort Bragg, my spouse was deployed to Afghanistan for 9 months. Once he got back, we were still at Fort Bragg for a little bit, and then we went to Grafenbeer over in Germany. We were in Germany for about 3 years. We rode COVID out over there. Definitely an experience. And now we are down here in Georgia, where we're stationed at Fort Stewart.
So you kind of been a little bit of everywhere.
For
What are
sure.
some of the pros and some of the challenges of military life for you as a spouse?
Some of the pros are, well, the traveling is great. It's nice to be able to, see so many different parts of the world that, you may not have otherwise seen or you may not have otherwise thought of going to. Definitely the support system and this unique family, this unique bond that military spouses have is always a positive and encouraging force for me, seeing it play out in so many different aspects. Some challenges are the constant moving, the constant unknown that just looms in the background. You never know when your spouse is going to have to move or go somewhere or get orders or whatever. Um, Also, trying to maintain a stable career is one of the main challenges. And maintaining your own sense of identity as a spouse is one of the challenges as well.
Sure. So tell us about what career field you work in and what some of those challenges are in terms of finding and maintaining employment as a military spouse.
Okay, well, by training, I am in psychology. I have a master's degree in psychology, but most of my work has been in higher education, and it's a pretty specialized field, the area of higher education that I work in. And because we've moved a couple of times, it's been pretty difficult to maintain employment in that particular area. I've had to think outside the box when it comes to my skill set and how I market myself to various employers so that they understand the skills that I bring to the table. As well, I've had to maintain a growth mindset so that I can gain new skills at each duty station, and it's just all part of adapting and overcoming that challenge of having to constantly, you know, move around, and sometimes it means that your options are limited.
And Veronica, I know we've also talked about some potential issues with licensing as a military spouse when you're moving so much. Can you
Yeah.
talk a little bit about that? And then I also know that there's some education that you either want or need that's hard to do or impossible to do virtually sometimes.
Yeah, so with psychology, you have to have that license. If you're not licensed at all, you can't practice. And some states will allow you to get licensed at the master's level, and a lot of states require you to have a doctoral degree. And psychology is still a pretty slow moving field. It hasn't gotten on board the virtual education just yet. So a lot of doctoral degrees have to be completed in person. I will say a lot of the accredited doctoral level degrees have to be completed in person, and most of them are 5 to 7 years. And when you're moving bases every 2 or 3 years, as you can imagine, it's hard to start a program and actually see it through to completion because you're always moving bases. So that's something I plan to do at some point when I grow up. um, get that doctoral degree so I can get my license and practice as a psychologist or wherever we move next. But yeah, that's been a very big challenge trying to complete my education so I can move to the next level.
And then we also know that a lot of spouses, if they need licensing in their field, those licensing requirements can, again, if you're moving from state to state, you might have to constantly be updating that licensing. I want to turn to Ryan now. And Ryan, if you can talk about DAV's different employment resources for military spouses.
Sure. Thanks for having me. So on jobs.dav.org, we've got a plethora of resources that's available to veterans and spouses alike. There's a job board with several 100,000 vacancies that are currently on there. You can also see the different resources that we have for mentorship opportunities. Also our DAV Patriot Bootcamp, where we bring in mentors from all over the country to mentor young business owners on how to make their business more successful. Essentially learn from my mistakes so you're not making the same mistakes that I made. So we have a lot of resources that's located on our website. And then speaking about our mentorship opportunities, what makes those great is the fact that they can be done anywhere. Like Veronica said, she was overseas at some points in time. You can be mentored on a task of your choosing or a topic of your choosing, sorry. It could be interview tactics, resume building. It's at your discretion when it's going to be, how it's going to take place, and who that mentor is actually going to be. And these are free resources that are located on our website. We also have a complete list of job fairs that we have up and coming throughout the year. Currently this year, we've got over 100 traditional, meaning in person, and virtual job fairs also. In fact, this week, we've got a military spouses event, which fits perfectly with Veronica. That event's going to be held on this coming Thursday at 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern time. So we're just encouraging every military spouse that's out there to attend. It's open to veterans as well. However, this particular event is geared towards the strength of military spouses.
And can you talk about, in general, how DAV job fairs are geared toward military spouses, or what makes it different from any other job fair that's not necessarily for this community?
Sure. So the organizations and businesses that are coming, they're aware of the value that military spouses bring to the table. They understand that military spouses, it's the backbone of the family. These individuals are excellent managers of the family. They've got to do things and change on the fly like nobody's business. So I'm sure Veronica can understand the value that has. When it comes to changing on the fly, it's not easy. So these employers know that value that they're bringing to the table, and they want that part of their organization.
So Veronica, I know that you utilized some DAV job fairs and virtual job fairs. Can you tell us what that experience was like for you?
Sure. It was a very positive experience, very easy, very, dare I say, relaxing experience to go through those virtual job fairs. I personally used them a lot for networking and for just kind of staying grounded in the new trends. Like I mentioned before, I try to have a growth mindset when it comes to securing employment at new duty stations. And I like to see what new skills employers are hiring for, and what may be coming down the pipeline, not only for myself, but also for whoever I may encounter. At one point in time, I was doing some career counseling. So, going to those job fairs and such enabled me to better advise the soldiers. I was providing career counseling too at that moment. But I definitely use them for networking. I try to get as many connections as possible for interviews in the future and opportunities as well.
That's great. Can you talk about, actually, I want to go back for a second. When you utilized the virtual job fairs, I believe you were in Germany at the time and you were about to come back to the States. You got back to the States and you were waiting on your vehicles that kind of got caught up in some logistics. So it seems like that virtual aspect was really a big asset for you given your military lifestyle.
Yes, it definitely was. We shipped our vehicles. I think I shipped mine like December or something like that, and it didn't get here until January or February sometime. So as many virtual events as I could attend, I did, simply because I was trying to find employment. And as you can imagine, trying to manage things with one rental car was extremely difficult. So definitely that virtual aspect, going into the chat rooms and just simply being able to chat with the various employers and just send out resumes was extremely helpful. And just finding something to get started with when we got back.
When we spoke before, you compared the chat room experience kind of like, if for those who can remember, like the AOL chat room. So it's also nostalgic if you're looking for that.
It
Um,
truly is.
Veronica, what advice do you have for military spouses out there who are struggling to figure out their own careers and how to navigate that?
I would advise them to consider their own identity, what they like to do, their hobbies, how they like to spend their time. I would advise them also to remain flexible and, maybe think outside the box as to what your career might look like. I have a very non-traditional career, both in higher education and in psychology. I also have other skills that I've acquired through just having to move, like career counseling. That was never on my radar at all. However, when we got to Germany, that was a position that became available. An opportunity was there, so I became a career counselor for a little bit. I'm so flexible, considering your own identity, thinking outside the box, having a growth mindset, as well as use your resources. There are a lot of resources out there for military spouses, for veterans, for the military family in general. And so being aware of your resources and utilize them to the fullest can really help you in finding your own niche and maintaining that niche wherever you are.
Yeah, and again, when we spoke before, I thought, this great advice about showing up as your authentic self, right? Because
Yeah.
you want to find what's best for you and a good fit for you, and so you might as well, show up authentically as yourself. So I thought that was great advice. And also, Ryan brought it up before and said military spouses many of them are managers, right? They're great managers because they've had to manage so many different moves and household things as a military spouse. And I think that goes back to, marketing yourself and thinking outside the box, and how to, sell your experiences. Um, Ryan, how can job fair attendees be best prepared and set themselves up for success in general and maybe for this Thursday's event?
Sure. So we call them keys to success. So whether that be a in-person traditional job fair or that be a virtual job fair like the one coming up this Thursday, we want to dress for success. So our virtual events, in some occasions, they are doing on-the-spot interviews, they're doing on-the-spot hiring. You have the ability for the employer to see you and you to see them via webcam. So dressing for success is key. Just because you're in a virtual environment does not mean that you're not dressing for success. The second thing is knowing your 30-second elevator pitch. Know it front and back. Know who you are, what you want to do, and know the value that you're bringing to the company, and being confident in that. You know your value as a project manager, or in the mental health field, like Veronica is. You know what you bring to the table. Give that 30-second elevator pitch and make them want you and make them understand why they need you as a part of their organization. And the second thing, like we tell all of our job fair attendees, you want to make sure that you do your research on the job fair prior to going. Know the companies that are going to be present. Have your list of employers that you want to see, whether it be 5, 6, or just that one. But don't do yourself that disservice and bypass all the other booths and say, oh, I don't think I want to work for this company. We always encourage everybody to touch every single employer. You could be not clicking on that one booth or not walking up to that particular recruiter that's there that day. And that could be a dream job that's on the other side of those doors. So don't do yourself that disservice. So I think those 3 keys are the biggest things that for anybody to pay attention to.
Yeah. And I just want to note, so folks can go to jobs.dav.org to find a list of job fairs. When they go to register, they can see all the employers that will be attending that specific fair, correct?
Yes, they can. So in fact, whenever you go to jobs.dav.org, you click on, it's called Job Fairs. That's the second tab that's on there. And whenever you click on it, it brings up another screen where you can actually register for the event. Once you're registered, you upload your all your credentials. You can put your resume on there. So whenever you enter the virtual job fair, employers will be able to click on your name and pull your resume and, like I say, interact with you face to face as if you were there in person.
Yep. And it's also, I note that because you talk about, it's great to do research beforehand. So that information is there. You can see what employers will be there and get a jump start on that research and being prepared.
Exactly.
I'll throw this out to both of you. What do you, and we've talked a little bit about this, but what do you think makes military spouses good job candidates, good workers?
I'll just echo what Ryan said earlier about military spouses being able to adapt very quickly and think quick on our feet. We can adjust to whatever situation. When the situation changes, we can make a plan and change it up very quickly. I think that ability to very quickly adapt is one thing that we bring to the table. I also believe that military spouses are very loyal, hardworking people in general. We have this sort of grit, determination, perseverance that you really simply can't find in other candidates. I think we also have a thirst and a longing for community that can assist in building a very positive culture in any job space that we enter.
Those are all great points. Ryan, anything you'd like to add? I know
Sure.
Veronica.
I kind of want to echo what Veronica said as well, and just add to the fact that, like I was saying earlier, military spouses are the backbone of the family. When you're in the military, the service members coming home stressed out, and more oftentimes they're stressed because they're away from their family. So that military spouse has the ability to dissect the situation, figure out what's going on, and be that strong individual for the military, the service member to come home to. And being that backbone, just to echo again, that they are awesome project managers, and it kind of geared towards what Veronica's doing and being in the mental health field. I'm sure your husband can appreciate that, and you can kind of understand a little bit more where he's coming from at times, and kind of dissect it, why he's acting certain ways, and kind of feel for him and understand his stresses a little bit more.
Absolutely.
Ryan, I also wanted to ask what advice you have for employers who are looking to hire military spouses.
Sure. So for all the employers out there that's watching, pay attention to what we've said throughout this entire live event. And if you're going to take one key away from it, just understand that if you're looking to grow your company and you're looking to make your company more successful, hiring a military spouse is going to be second to none. They can be the backbone of your organization. They can provide a sense of homeness for your organization as well. So military spouse is where it's at. Let's get them all hired as much as we can. And yes, they are the military spouse, but they're serving right alongside that veteran. They are the reason why that veteran comes to work every single day and is able to do the things that they do for this country.
Absolutely. And Veronica, as a military spouse yourself, what advice do you have for employers?
I would advise them to remain flexible. We need a lot of flexibility because we never know what we're going to face day to day. So remaining flexible would be a huge asset to the military spouse coming on board, as well as providing mentorship and training. Mentorship programs have been phenomenal and a key part in my own journey in me getting to where I am today. So mentorship and flexibility would be the two things I would advise employers to offer military spouses.
Yeah, again, I love how you put it when we spoke before that military spouses have to be flexible every day. And so if employers can meet them there, everyone benefits from that. Thank you both so much. Veronica, thank you for being here. Thank you for your service and your support of veterans and, of course, your own family. Please give our thanks to your husband as well. Again, for those watching, all DAV job fairs are for service members, veterans, and military spouses, but there is a special virtual career fair this Thursday, May 11th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. EST that is geared toward military spouses in particular. Learn more and register at jobs.dav.org, and be sure to follow DAV on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for the latest news and events. Thank you.